What's going on, guys? Happy Friday and welcome in here to WagerTalk TV. This is another episode of Puck Time for Friday, June the 9th. Yeah, we are back again here because we don't do shows on weekends. We have to cover Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. That'll be, of course, Saturday evening between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. The Florida Panthers, they take Game 3 in overtime. Typical Florida Panthers fashion. They get the job done. An exciting game there yesterday. And one down, one to go for my over 1.5 overtime games in the series. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we can get one more overtime victory in there. For me, I decided actually to stay off the props last night. Just kind of stick to the ones that I mentioned on the show and play those small, which did go well. But I had a split. I split the first period and I split the full game as far as the over. And Carm, I should have just stuck with the first period. I don't know why I tried to reinvent the wheel. The first period's been working so well for me. 15 of the last 16 games for the Vegas Golden Knights. The first period over has cashed in. But you had a great night last night, Carm. Congratulations to you. And we have a game tomorrow to talk about. But I'll bring you in and ask you your thoughts on yesterday's game.
Yeah, I'm happy that I had it was like a 5-1 in one night. The props hit to Chuck over 1.5 points. He got one early and then he left for like about 14 minutes after taking that hit. And I'm like, this guy's probably not coming back. Came back in the second period and thankfully scored the goal to send it to overtime. And then, of course, the Aiden Hill over 2.5 goals allowed. So sometimes the puck luck is in your favor. Sometimes it goes against you. Yesterday was in my favor, so I'm pretty happy about that. And we still have a series. It's still a long way to go in this series, but the gentleman's sweep is still alive, and the Florida Panthers are still alive. You look at the game, Andrew, and I honestly think Florida I'm using that word honestly again. Florida played a much better game than they played in games 1 and 2. But the Vegas Golden Knights, for long stretches of that game yesterday, just dominated. It's the fact that Florida played better defensively and didn't take the multiple stupid penalties, but they took bad penalties throughout the game. I want to throw out the let's blame it on the officials thing because the penalties were penalties. And rightfully so. The only one I think was really questionable as far as penalties go was the one with about 30 seconds left in regulation time. He jumped between the two players and he elevated himself up. A lot of times you can just hit the ice and see if they're going to call that penalty, and they did. That could have been one where you call tripping and embellishment, and you take one away from both players. That's probably the only iffy call, I would say. But the Vegas Golden Knights played essentially the exact same game they played in game 1 and game 2. They're just tenacious. They come after you. They play extremely well. And that could have been 3-0. It really could have been 3-0 with Saturday's game, the one we're discussing tonight, possibly being the one where they win the cup. But it's 2-1 now. Florida feels like they're back into the series. If they can build off that win, cut down on those penalties, because 5-on-5, Florida played well. They gave up some dangerous chances, but Andrew, they played well. Both Vegas goals came on the power play, and I still don't understand the Florida power play. It just seems non-existent. And while I want to blame Florida that they just don't get enough puck movement, they don't get the puck in deep when trying to get into the O zone. Maybe it's just that Vegas's penalty killing has gotten that much better, because it wasn't earlier in the playoffs where they got lit up by the Oilers, and even Winnipeg, I think, got some. And then during the regular season, they weren't that great, but they somehow found it. These two teams have of the teams that are in the playoffs, I think they said they're the two worst penalty killing teams, and they find themselves in the Stanley Cup Finals. So there's that. But we got a game 4, and if the Panthers can somehow win that one, we're going to have at least a 6-game series and maybe 7. It'll give us more time to talk about this, Andrew.
And it's really nice because it's fresh too, Carm. We just watched the game last night, so we've got opinions to talk about from what we learned yesterday. But of course, we did film puck time yesterday, and I'm guessing a lot of the same thoughts we had going into yesterday. We probably share a little bit of the same going into today and for tomorrow's games. We'll bring up the odds here. We've got a 6 again as the total. Panthers minus 125, Vegas plus 105. I say 6 as a total, but there are 5.5s around, depending on where you look around. But if you are getting that 5.5, you are paying a premium at minus 125 or 130. So depending on what you like, under or over, you can get the 5.5s or the 6s. Carm, you mentioned the power plays and the penalties. Look, I put out a funny tweet saying, the MVP of the game yesterday, and I tweeted out a picture of a referee, a guy in a referee jersey. And look, I get it. Those are all power plays. Maybe they aren't necessarily power plays in the playoffs, but hey, you got to call them. I agree with you. I'm not going to sit here and say you can't call that. One thing I will credit the referees and all the officials for is that they pretty much stated from the beginning of the game, we're going to call everything, and they did. They called every little thing. But one thing that bothers me about the NBA and the NHL is that depending on each referee is how they're going to call every game. Another referee might have let all that stuff go, half that stuff go. There might not have even been a tripping penalty on that last 8 seconds to go in regulation play, but that referee decided to call it. That's my beef. I'm not going to ever sit here and tell you those weren't penalties, because they were, but even more importantly, Florida's taken bad penalties. Like you said, they're 0 for 12 on the power play. That is embarrassing for them on this series, embarrassing as far as a Stanley Cup Finals is concerned. But the big but here is they're only down one game now. The series is 2-1, and they haven't even scored on a power play. Vegas, both their goals yesterday were on the special teams. They have not scored a 5-on-5 goal. So looking forward to it. But what are your opening thoughts? Are you looking to see if Vegas, if Florida can tie things up in Game 4?
Yeah, like I would hope the series goes longer. I would hope it's a 7-game series, because we just get more hockey. But just to go back to the game, just because it's all fresh in our minds, and you love to stir up stuff on Twitter. I saw some of it, but I was offline for the most part. But you just love stirring that stuff up. But the penalties. Even if you're a Florida fan or you had money on Florida, you can't complain about the penalties. You look at the Duclair one where he gets a tripping penalty. He clearly, and right in front of the ref, he sticks his skate inside the legs and pulls the skate of the Vegas player who goes down. That's a penalty. If it was in the middle of ice, we call that like slew footing, but it's slew footing, I guess, against the boards. The penalties were penalties. I have no problem with it. Excuse me. The one, and it's just dumb penalties as well too. Vegas is about to get a cross-checking penalty or a roughing penalty, and Gudas goes after the guy and cross-checks him, and they're offsetting penalties. He literally costs his team a power play. Those are dumb penalties. You can't take those. But if you want to look at it, and this is the way I kind of look at it, the 3-2 game, the numbers were even. And it goes to OT, and obviously they win. The high danger chances were 18-16 for the Florida Panthers. The XG numbers, the final XG numbers were 3.42 to 3.40, essentially even between these two teams, with Florida having that small edge, but it's not really an edge. It's 0.02 of an edge. It was even. How that game stayed under the total of 6 was likely Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky played like he did before this series started. The guy, after he came in for Alex Lyon early in that Bruins series, he's gone 8-1. His goals against average, I think, was under 2. It was over 5.5 after the first 2 games of this series. He made some great saves yesterday, and if they can build off that, stay out of the box, then they have a good shot of evening this up. I honestly, Andrew, I think the better play, if you can grab those 6s before they disappear and not have to pay the premium on the over 5.5, I think they taking the under 6 is probably the best route to take in this one, because if this becomes a I think of Florida starting to look like Florida did in the Carolina series, in the Toronto series, then it's one of those ones where you correlate it, where you say Florida in the under, Vegas in the over. We saw Vegas in the over work perfectly fine in the first two games, and now Florida in the under in game three. And I would look at the under in this game. The under three is the under in game four at 6. If you can grab it, and there's some 6s available. If you check WagerTalk's live lines, you'll see them there. But if you can grab the 6, I would take it and take the under.
I hear you, and that's the thing, that Florida's recipe to success. I said at the start of the series that that's how they were going to win games. But then yesterday, I kind of started retracting my statements and saying that maybe they have to score some goals in order to beat this Vegas team, maybe even 4 goals. Of course, yesterday they only needed 3. But let's be honest here, they still had to score in the dying minutes of the third period and then win that game in overtime. I know we don't like to handicap on ifs and what ifs and what could happen, but if they capitalize on one of those power plays, this whole series, is different. Yesterday they just continue to be too fancy and just try and make that perfect play. The Florida Panthers have to start playing on the power play the same way they play on 5-on-5. Stop trying to score the nice goals. Adin Hill has been a great goaltender. They have to get traffic and score those garbage goals. And speaking of Adin Hill, hats off to you for cashing your wager yesterday, Carm, on the number of goals allowed for Adin Hill. You cashed that ticket yesterday with Florida, of course, reaching the 3-goal mark. I mentioned off the top of the show today about those first period overs. And what's incredible is that even with a full game going under, this has happened for Florida and Vegas throughout many games in this playoffs. The first period has still continued to go over the total. You can guarantee I will be on that again for tomorrow. But I'm tempted to take a look at this Florida team. I really am, because I think that when you look at how they won that game, it's a gutsy effort. And some Vegas Golden Knight fans might say, yeah, well, we dominated that whole game, and then Florida ended up just getting lucky at the end. Matthew Tkachuk even said in all of his interviews he thinks he got lucky with the puck going on his stick. But you know how momentum works, Carm. You know how the building looked after they scored the first goal yesterday. It makes a big difference. When you win a game like that, you recognize you're back in the series. You're not down 3-0. You're only down 2-1 now. And the belief goes back in that locker room. But Florida did look a little bit slow out there. They're not looking fast, man. So I think I'd agree with your under. The only thing that worries me is that both teams have sucked on the power play. And if they start converting, then, Vegas did go 2 for 2 yesterday, but I'm sure you understand my concern.
Yeah. And I don't want to bring in the what if the power plays finally start to hit, because hopefully you would think Florida is a little more disciplined than they were in game 3. And still in game 3, they're much more disciplined than they were in games 1 and 2. Vegas is a team that you've got to give them respect. They played the perfect road game yesterday. And it's similar to, if you remember, so it's the puck luck. The Dallas Stars in Vegas played a perfect road game. I believe it was in game 2. Vegas scores with like 2 minutes left in the game. It goes to overtime and Vegas wins it in OT in a game in which they probably didn't deserve to win because Dallas played a perfect game. But sometimes if you can't finish it off in 60, this is what happens. And the same thing happened to Vegas that happened to Dallas. Vegas played pretty much a perfect road game. They pull a man 6-on-5, and they were able to keep it in the O zone, and somehow it lands on Matthew Tkachuk's stick, assisted by Verhaeghe. So that literally gave me 2 prop bets at the same time. So I was pretty happy about that, and gave me a chance to win a couple more bets in OT, which I did. So I was pretty happy about that. But you can't say that the Vegas Golden Knights came into game 3 and looked flat. They didn't. They looked good, which is why Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers are going to have to be that much better than they were in game 3, because Vegas isn't going to be a no-show on Saturday. Vegas is going to show up. looking to win, looking to get it back home for game 5, and that gentleman's sweep on home ice. So this game 4 is obviously it's an understatement, but it's such a critical game for this whole series. At 2-2, it's anyone's game, and even though Florida were dominated in 2 games in Vegas, they've proven that they can win on the road. Doing it in Boston 3 times, doing it in Toronto 3 times, and then of course twice in Carolina. So this is a team that can win on the road. They just need to put that those mental lapses behind them where they take dumb penalties. And I think they were better in game 3 yesterday, but they still need to be that much more better in game 4.
Yesterday, we talked about the first period money line for the Florida Panthers. And although it ended up being 1-1 after 2, I think that's probably the direction I'd go in tomorrow if I am playing Florida in any way, because that first goal is so important. But winning the first period has to be on their agenda. I mean, it's on every team's agenda. But when you look at how they won yesterday, again, I talk about it. You talked about it. It's fortunate. It's a lucky bounce. It's a great rally. Every player said that's one of the best mini comebacks they've ever been a part of. Florida has to get out to a good start in their game in the first period. They will have a good jump. Vegas won't be happy with what happened yesterday, but I think the Florida first period is the way to go. I also have to correct this. I messaged you about this yesterday, Carm. I had the player's name that had a baby mixed up yesterday, guys. It was Brandon Montour, who was flying back and forth between games. And think about that distraction for a second. You're playing 2 games in Vegas. Immediately after you play game 1 in Vegas, you're flying back to Florida to be with your wife. You fly back the next day. Then you're flying back to Florida again for game 3. And he scores the first goal. Thankfully, Verhaeghe still had a pretty good game, and I did mention his name. But I really wish I had the name right, Carm. It's kind of embarrassing. The guy scored the first goal of the game. I would have been a genius if I actually had the right name down. He said that goal was for my baby boy. So good for him. Good for Montour. But I'll take the first period, Florida Panthers money line. First period over as well, but I guess it doesn't really correlate. But I'll take those 2 as well. I got to keep riding with. Let's get a 2-0 Florida, and I'll have a couple other plays coming up here. And including a prop play with my best bet segment. But man, I got that name wrong, Carm. Yeah. But do you want to kick into the charity challenge?
It's yeah. Before we go to the charity challenge, I'm laughing about it because you sent me the message, and when they were showing the game and they were talking about Montour and they were talking about him flying back, I'm like, how many of these players' wives are having kids? And you're making it sound like. Oh, he had to fly all the way home. He had to fly all the way back, and then he had to play a game. You're making it sound like of the 2 of them, he had the worst part of it. Try spitting out an 8-pound watermelon out of your private parts, and then tell me which one of the 2 is more painful: the flights back and forth, or the giving birth to a child, Andrew.
Hey, I'll never know. So I might see somebody else do it at some point in my life, but that's a good answer. I respect
hopefully
it.
Your lovely girlfriend, when you finally get engaged, tie the knot, and then I get to do a speech at the wedding while I'm watching a game on my phone at the same time too. So, but with that said, Andrew, before we go into the charity challenge, just a little bit of fun. I'm going to see if anybody in the live chat know this, but I'm going to ask you this question because it's a Stanley Cup question, but it is one that is an odd Stanley Cup question. Can you tell me how many cans of beer it takes to fill the Stanley Cup?
How many cans of beer it takes to fill the Stanley Cup?
I saw this on TV. I think it was during one of the games.
Can I look up a picture? Let me look a picture up of the Stanley Cup.
No, because I don't want you Googling the answer to this question. So no, you need to look straight at the screen and let me know how many cans of beer does it take to fill the Stanley Cup to the rim?
I'd say like a 2-4.
No. 17 cans of beer is the answer. 17 cans of beer to fill the Stanley Cup. So there you go. It's pretty much what you and your friends are going to consume tomorrow night while you're watching Game 4. 17 cans of beer each while watching the thing. But Andrew, with that said, we got to get into the charity challenge. The charity challenge, yesterday's charity challenge plays were a push because it was 1-1 at the end of one, unfortunately. So we remain at a 933 level. So we're still up almost 100% increase. So we're still doing well. My charity challenge play, Andrew, I'm going to the first period over 1.5. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's now 8 straight games for the Vegas Golden Knights where the first period has had over 1.5 goals. Even though I like the full game under, I'm going to take the first period over. So over 1.5 minus 125 as the charity challenge play. And I'll throw it over to you for yours.
Carm, look, I think that you nailed it perfectly when you talked about we don't want to use the if factor and guessing and when will somebody start performing or when will the power play get better. But it seems to me that it's an up and down effect here. It's a one game this, one game that with Alexander Barkov with his shots on goal prop. And on Saturday, I'm going to jump back in and take him over 2.5 shots on goal at the best number available. Make sure you guys shop around. Barkov is the leader of this team. He's still forechecking, back checking, making plays, but the guy has to start shooting the puck more. Tkachuk needs some help, man. The guy had 2 goals yesterday. I mean, the guy's doing a lot for his team. They need more out of the supporting cast. And Barkov, he gets paid big bucks to put the puck in the net and shoot the puck at the net. I'll take Barkov over 2.5 shots on goal for my charity challenge play for tomorrow. What do you have for us for your best bet, Carm?
All right, so it's going to be a pretty busy weekend for me, guys. So I've got a special on a 7-day all access where you can get $30 off if you use the coupon code CB30. CB30 will drop it from 99 down to 69. Obviously, Champions League game tomorrow. I'll talk about tomorrow first. Champions League game tomorrow. That play is up along with 10 prop plays. Obviously, game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I have a 5% play that is loaded along with analysis. There's going to be some prop plays in the game I'm going to release as well, too. And it's going to be a busy weekend as well. It surprises me, Andrew. We're doing puck time, and I got Lawrence calling me. Does he not watch the? He doesn't watch the show. This is why he's calling
Answer
me.
It.
So
answer it.
No, I'm not going to answer
on the show.
No, I'm not going to answer it. But with that said, today a couple baseball games up for tonight. It's going to be a busy weekend. Just a ton of sports between baseball, between soccer, between obviously hockey as well too, and of course the tennis finals were up 14 or 15 units in the French Open. So we're having a good French Open as well too. Ton of plays. Use that code CB30 and you'll get the next 7 days for only $69. That's less than $10 a day. It's a great deal. My show best bet, Andrew, I'm going to go with Mark Stone over 2.5 shots on goal. Now, we don't have the VIG for that, unfortunately, just because all the player prop shots come out tomorrow. But he's always been priced at about 125, 130. I expect it to be something similar. All 3 games in this series, he's gone over his total. 13 shots through 3 games for this guy, and 5 straight games in which he's gone over the total of 2.5. So Mark Stone over 2.5 shots on goal. He has been in this series, and he has been in front of that net. He has been a big part of the series for Vegas. So I'll take him to get at least 3 shots on goal tomorrow night for the Vegas Golden Knights. And guys, have a fantastic weekend.
Great stuff, Carm. Best luck to you this weekend. Best luck in that 5% play, and I'll be following along with you on the Champions League plays tomorrow. So, Carm, no pressure, man, but hey, hopefully you're paying for some drinks for me with those Champions League plays. I'm going to have the game on during the pregame, during the afternoon. Let's cash some tickets. Make sure you guys use that promo code as well for Carmine. Big weekend for me as well, Carm. You know, I'm looking forward to CFL this weekend. I cashed a winner yesterday, had the under 51.5. We cashed with 13 points to spare. So a nice 1-0 start to the CFL season. I've got UFC going tomorrow. I've got a best bet in the CFL going on Sunday. And I have a 5% MLB play going tonight. You can get that over at WagerTalk.com, and you can use the promo code AM3 to get 3 days of all access, all my plays for $39. So one play today, my best bet, my 5% is $35. You can get 3 days of all plays for $39 at WagerTalk.com. My best bet for today's show, we're going right back to it, of course. Carm mentioned it. First period, over 1.5. Wash, rinse, repeat. 16 of the last 17 games for the Vegas Golden Knights in these playoffs, which is a lot, have gone over in the first period. Guys, I'll take the first period over 1.5. That's a play that Carmine and I both have locked in. And I've got Barkov over shots on goal. Carm has Stone over on his shots on goal. You can find both of us, of course, at WagerTalk.com. Hit the like button on the way out and comment below what you are betting for this weekend. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. We'll see you on Monday.
June just got better with this 30-day 190 all access special. A 7-day all access package at WagerTalk.com is $99, but why pay full price when you can jump on board for some summer savings? With our June kickoff special, you'll get 30 days of every play from your favorite handicapper for only $198. This comes out to only $6.63 per day to bet alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days. That's right, for the same price as 2 $99 weekly packages, you get over 4 weeks of action. The NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, 30 days of MLB, the WNBA, plus golf, including the Memorial Tournament, UFC, soccer, and tennis. If your favorite handicap releases a play in that sport, you will get it, including top-rated 5% selections normally priced at $35. No coupon is needed, and there is no limit to the number of handicappers you can choose. Just head to their homepage and add their June kickoff special to your cart.